Okay, this is a 184 voice, mock number 3, 10-minute dictation, and the following is the word list. Ms. Malone, Mr. Martin, Mr. Hanks, Rexford Drive.
And for the plaintiff's attorney, I am Mr. Polito.
For defense attorney number 1, I am Ms. Tripp.
Defense attorney number 2, Mr. Wagner.
And I will be the witness.
And we will be starting with a question from Mr. Polito. Ready? Okay. Here is a picture of what I have shown you. What aren't you sure about? Are you not sure about the point of impact?
I didn't say I wasn't sure of it.
There was a discussion between you and counsel.
I was asking a question whether he felt comfortable about it or not because he had just said the officer's measurement was off. That's all we were talking about. He never said he was uncomfortable with it or unsure.
I know. He said, I am just not sure, and I am just wondering what he isn't sure about.
You know I am always sure. Let's see.
We will mark this as plaintiff's exhibit number 1. So it is some distance east of that last tree in the picture, correct?
Yes?
Do you have an estimate of that distance?
No, I don't. As a matter of fact, no, I don't have an exact distance from the tree, just prior to the tree.
How about a range or a rough estimate?
No, all I can give you is what Mr. Hanks gave me, and that was just prior to the tree. I don't know what the distance is. I can't give you an estimate.
Okay. Do you have an estimate of how far north of the double yellow line it is? I mean, here is what you marked. I guess it is a little clearer on the top.
Yes, but I have it on the diagram. It would be approximately 3 feet north of the north edge of the double line. Actually, there were 2 double lines there, as the term applies, and so it is from the edge of that yellow line.
So it is about 3 feet north of the outer line?
Yes.
Wait, object, vague and ambiguous.
Meaning the northwest of the 2 double yellow lines?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
So basically, 3 feet into the number 1 lane
Yes.
was where the impact occurred,
I was measuring from the center median, yes.
and some distance east of the tree?
Yes.
And the basis for that opinion as to the location of the impact on the roadway is what?
I believe Mr. Martin testified where he came at a stop. Where the bicycle was located at and the path of travel of the bicycle is based on Ms. Malone's deposition. She is going off on a tangent somewheres between 10 and 11 o'clock.
So we have the 2 depots, the plaintiff's depot and Mr. Martin's depot. What else did you base it on?
Well, I also based it on the officer's report where he said 38 feet. I don't know what he was using to measure it from, but I think it's just a typographical. He should have put 28 instead of 38.
Is that all that you based it on?
Yes.
Do you have an opinion as to what was the attitude of the vehicles at impact?
You mean the direction where the Cadillac was at a stop?
Basically, the angle of the vehicles.
It would have been angled slightly to the southwest, and the bicycle would have impacted at an angle to the car. Is that what you mean?
I don't know. I asked you what the attitude of the 2 vehicles were.
Yes, people have attitudes.
But I thought attitude was a term of art. Do you know what I mean by that? Because I can use another word.
You tell me what you want.
Okay, it is the angle of the vehicles at the time of impact.
Okay.
To one another or to some fixed point?
To one another.
The hypothetical would be incomplete unless we make reference to, so assuming that Rexford runs due east-west, will you accept that in the hypothetical?
Yes. Rexford Drive runs east and west.
Well, just to each other, as far as I was concerned, I have got the front tire only striking the side of the right front fender. And that would put the, let me do it, a little measurement here. You want it at an angle, right?
I don't know if that's your understanding of the angle of the vehicles at the point.
That's my understanding. The right front tire hit the right front fender.
With respect to east and west, what was the angle of the bicycle?
Well, the angle of the bicycle as it left the straightaway was 8.6 degrees and continued at 8.6 degrees until the point of impact.
Right, but at the exact point of impact, which way was the bicycle pointing? Which direction? The front of the bicycle.
It was pointing towards the southwest.
And at what angle with respect to a straight line between east and west?
8.6 degrees. I didn't know that's what you were looking for.
I should have clarified it. Let's see.
That's included in the diagram. 8.6 degrees next to the bicycle.
So it is almost parallel to the vehicle at impact?
Well, it is not parallel to it, but it is pretty close. The front tire is the only thing that touched the car initially. I don't know if any other part of the bicycle touched the car or not.
Using the car was pointing pretty much in a west direction, but a little bit southwest, correct?
Correct.
Using the right side of the car as the straight line, how far from the car was the bicycle? At what angle did the bicycle, that is a little different angle, right?
Right. That's the one I was doing right here. It is about 10 degrees to the car.
So 10 degrees to the car and 8.6 degrees with respect to the curb. The right curb?
Well, with respect to the point at which he left the bicycle lane.
I see.
The lane line for the bike lane.
And that's the east-west line?
Yes.
Now, the car itself, what angle was the car at with respect to that east-west line upon impact?
I didn't know you were going to have me do all this math.
I am going to get my money's worth.
It takes time.
You haven't calculated that before today, right?
No. It's an estimate based on what they said the impact was between the rung of the front tire of the bicycle and right front fender of the car.
And therefore, these questions assume facts not in evidence, and they involve incomplete hypotheticals. But we are assuming for purposes of discussion that the roadway runs due east-west.
Yes, it does. Well, it doesn't, I mean for purposes of this deposition, not exactly east and west, but that's California, I guess. Have you ever tried taking the 101 south or north?
That's ridiculous.
It should be east or west.
My understanding is this Cadillac was moved from the scene before the officer arrived, or moved from point of impact before the officer arrived?
I think it probably was.
All right.
While you are doing that, I am just going to get a document here.
We are back on?
Yes,
1.7 degrees
1.7 degrees.
from his original travel.
In a straight line, east to west?
Yes, if we consider it a straight line east to west.
Okay, again, she is 8.6 degrees using that same standard, right?
Yes, from the white line that indicates the bicycle lane to where she had the impact at.
Now, with respect to these angles that we have been talking about, how did you determine that? How did you determine the bicycle's angle, the 8.6 from east to west, and with respect to the car, it was 10 degrees?
Okay, well, she indicated that she turned to the left at about 10 to 11 o'clock. And that kind of coincides with the measurements that I have of using the officer's point of impact, 191 feet, east of Greer.
Okay,
And if she is traveling at 22 miles per hour, that would have taken her 4.18 seconds, and she would have traveled 135 feet. And I have assumed that the point of impact is 25 feet south of the north curb of Rexford Drive, and that she left from the bicycle lane that was a distance of 135 feet. So I divided 25 feet by 135 feet, and I arrived at the tangent, and I inverted the tangent and got the degree angle. I did the same thing for the car. The original direction of travel was westbound on the right-hand side, where he was impacted at to where he was hit at, and that was a 5-foot difference and a difference of about 164 feet. And the same thing, divided the 5 feet by 164, and I got an angle of 1.7 degrees.
okay. And to do that, you did that calculation right here, correct?
Yes, correct.
And to do that, you assumed the bicycle speed was 22 miles per hour, correct?
Correct.
That was based on the timing that Mr. Hanks did?
Right, and the rate of pedaling that Mr. Martin indicated Ms. Malone was pedaling her bike.
Did you assume the speed of the Cadillac?
Yes, I assumed he was going 40 miles per hour
What did you base that assumption on?
on his statement and the speed limit.
He stated that he was going 40 to 45, right?
Yes, he said 40, I think, once before that, and then later added 45.
So you used 40
Yes,
and 22 miles per hour for the bike. Okay. And you used the point of impact or area of impact, which you have drawn on Exhibit 1, based on, in part, the police report and the depositions of the two parties, correct?
correct.
I mean, you used the same point of impact that you have designated before, right?
191 feet, yes.